The quote that I'm just going to pick for purposes of this example is JFK's, "Ask not what this country can do for you, but what you can do for this country." Right? Have you heard of that quote? Yeah, very famous. Okay, so I'm just going to I'm not going to write out everything, but just kind of paraphrase it. Okay. So John F. Kennedy. Or John F. Kennedy. So I recommend students not start by working on the introduction, because when you don't know the focus of your speech, you don't really have a clear idea of how you should start your speech. So I think you should figure out what you're going to talk about and then go back and do the introduction. So you want to get an overall goal. Your goal is to inform the audience about this quote and just tell us about what it means to you. And so I would start by getting two main points together. So remember, part of the assignment is that you have an introduction, two main points, and a conclusion. So it's perfectly up to you as to what goes into these two main points, as long as you keep that quote in the speech, the theme of the quote in the speech. I'm going to give some background on the quote as my first main point. I did a little research. I know that Kennedy gave this as an inaugural address. Okay. I write kind of messy. I know that this quote kind of signifies the role of a citizen. And it talks about freedom, what it means to be free. So that we are talking about our country being established on the idea of freedom from the government instead of oppression from the government. So freedom from government interference. And then the second point is really kind of what the quote means to me. So basically, I view this as what can I do for not only my country, but just for others in general. So what can I do? And I'll probably talk about things like what it means to be a good citizen, and helping others, and then improving my life and my situation. Also, I'll probably give some specific examples of how I do this in my life. And so I'll probably talk about work ethic in terms of career. I'm also a student. I'm in a PhD program. And then I would talk about how this quote relates to my marriage, because I think it does. And so this is kind of my sketch of the body of my speech. And then I'm going to go back and do an introduction. Now, an introduction is introducing the speech to your audience. But you want to do it a little bit smoother way than saying something like, "Hi, my name's Amanda, and my quote's this." You know, that's not smooth. It's kind of boring. It's kind of juvenile. And so there's some strategies to get people's attention. You can start off by citing a statistic. You could start off by telling a short story or giving an example. Or you could start off with a quote. Hey, wait a minute. This is a quote speech. And you could start off by stating a quote to get your audience's attention. Okay, bells just went off in my head. That's the way I'm going to start my speech. So when I go up to the audience and go up to in front of the audience, the first thing I'm going to say, I'm going to go up there, get my notes in order, breathe, smile. The first words that come out of my mouth are not going to be, "Oh man, I'm so nervous," or "Oh, it's going to suck," or "I just want to get this over with." The first words that are going to come out of your mouth are your planned opening, and it'll be, if you choose this, for my instance, it'll be, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." Then I'm going to give some sort of thesis or overview of what my speech is going to be about. Today I'm going to tell you what this famous quote said by John F. Kennedy is about and what it means to me. So I kind of give the audience an idea of what I'm going to talk about. Then I've got this and I got this. All I have to do is formulate some sort of conclusion. A conclusion is not saying the end. It is not saying, and that's all I got. It's not saying, oh yeah, that was bad, and then walking back to your seat with your head hung in shame. That is not a good conclusion. So we want to do a better conclusion than that. So really all we would need to do is just kind of summarize what we've talked about. So I would say something like, so now you know a little bit more about the background behind this quote and what it means in my life. And then you want to come up with some sort of definite ending, a planned ending. Because if you don't have a plan to stop and you're really nervous, it'll either be a crash and burn ending, or you won't know how to stop and you'll keep rambling. And so have a definite ending plan. It's your way out. And have it almost memorized. I mean, you don't have to memorize, but have it almost memorized. So my definite ending would probably be referring back to the quote. So today we've learned more about this quote and what it means. So now I want you to ask yourself, not what the country can do for you, but what can you do for the country? And then stop talking, right? Be quiet, gather your notes, and go back to your seat. So don't ramble. Don't let the nervous energy cause you to say more than what you had planned. Stick with your plan. So just have a summary, definite ending, and then you're done. Okay? All right. So this is kind of a sketch of what the speech would look like. If I went over this speech for the first time using those notes, it would be pretty rough, and I mentioned this earlier. So the first time you go over a speech just using your notes out loud, it's going to be awkward. So we mentioned before, to practice, get that awkwardness out of the way in the privacy of your home. And so what you'd want to do is just kind of work out the wording. Okay, yeah, I have some phrases here, but I need to know them pretty well so I can start well, start smooth. Yeah, I've got some bullet points here, but I kind of need to know the details that go with that bullet point. And so you just got to know your information well, and you can only do that with practice. And then you just use your notes to keep you on track. So your notes are here to glance down at and then to look back up at the audience. It's not here to read. We don't want full sentences on them. They're just here kind of unobtrusively just to get us on board, on page, back on point if we get lost. Okay? Are there any questions?